Hello, Virgo. I want to tell you something about this weekend before it arrives. Not after, not in the retrospective way where you look back at something significant and wish you had known what you were walking into before you walked into it. Before, while there is still time for you to be ready, while there is still time for you to approach what is coming with the particular quality of openness and presence that it deserves, rather than the ordinary, unremarkable, nothing special happening quality of attention you might have brought to it if I had not told you to pay attention. Pay attention to this weekend specifically, to the specific hours between now and when it ends. Because what is building in the energy around those hours is not ordinary. It is not the usual texture of a weekend, not the comfortable, predictable, this is what weekends feel like quality of ordinary rest and ordinary social interaction and ordinary forward motion through the ordinary days of an ordinary life. This weekend is not that. And the reason I need you to know that before it arrives is because the things that happen in it are the kind of things that are easy to miss when you are not watching for them, that are easy to walk through without fully registering, because they are going to arrive wearing ordinary clothing, wearing the costume of the unremarkable, presenting themselves as just another conversation, just another encounter, just another moment, and just another day. And underneath that presentation, carrying something that is going to change the shape of what comes after. I need you to see through the costume. I need you to be awake to what is actually inside these days. And I am going to tell you exactly what I am seeing so that you can. Let me start with what I feel first when I sit with the energy of your weekend. Before the specific developments, before the particular events, the overall quality of what these days are carrying, what I feel is a convergence, not in the abstract, energetic sense that convergence sometimes gets described, in the specific, practical sense of multiple things that have been moving separately in different areas of your life at different speeds, through different circumstances, arriving at the same point, at the same window, at the same concentrated stretch of hours, as though something has been orchestrating the timing from a level you do not have full visibility into, making sure that the separate threads arrive together so that their arrival has the force of a convergence rather than the gentleness of a single development arriving in isolation. And convergences, when they happen, when multiple streams of movement find the same moment simultaneously, produce something that single development simply cannot. They produce a shift, not an adjustment within the existing structure, a shift of the structure itself, a change to the underlying shape of things that makes what is possible after the convergence different from what was possible before it. That is what this weekend is carrying. A structural shift delivered across multiple dimensions of your life simultaneously in a way that you will not believe until you are inside it, and then will not be able to imagine, having not experienced. The first thing that is coming this weekend is unexpected contact. And I want to be specific about what unexpected means here because it matters. Unexpected does not mean unwanted. It does not mean the kind of surprise that requires bracing or adjustment or the work of finding your footing in something disorienting. Unexpected means arriving before you predicted it would, from a direction you were not watching most carefully, in a form that does not match the form you had imagined if you had been imagining it at all. There is someone who is going to reach toward you this weekend. Someone whose name or face or energy is already moving through your mind right now as I say these words. Not because I directed you toward them, because something in you already knows, already has the knowing that I am describing, already registered this person as significant before your conscious mind had time to agree. That person, the one that just surfaced, is going to make contact. And the contact is going to carry something in it that changes the energy between you. Not adjusts it, changes it in the way that an honest thing said after a long period of managed communication changes things. In the way that a real moment inserted into a sequence of performed moments changes the texture of everything around it. There is going to be a quality of realness to this contact that you have not experienced with this person before, or that you have experienced and then lost. And either way, its arrival this weekend is going to produce in you the particular feeling of something becoming what it was always trying to become. Something that was held back or complicated or not yet ready, finally arriving at ready, finally arriving at real, finally arriving at you in the form it was always building toward. The second thing this weekend carries is a revelation. And I want to sit with that word for a moment before I describe what I mean by it, because revelation gets used loosely, and I am not using it loosely here. A revelation is not a gradual realization. It is not the slow accumulation of evidence that eventually tips into conclusion. It is not the patient, methodical arrival at understanding that comes from sustained reflection over time. A revelation is sudden. It is the specific experience of something becoming completely clear in a moment that had not been clear in all the moments preceding it, of a fog lifting all at once rather than dissipating gradually, of a picture that was assembled from partial information suddenly resolving into its full form when the missing piece arrives and snaps into place. And that is what is coming this weekend. A missing piece, something you have been working around without knowing what it was. Something you have been feeling the absence of without being able to name the absence. A piece of information or a perspective or a moment of honesty from someone who has not been fully honest, or a realization that arrives from inside yourself about something you have been almost knowing without fully arriving at the knowing. That piece is coming this weekend. And when it arrives, when it snaps into place, the picture that resolves around it is going to be clearer than anything you have had access to in a very long time. Clear in the specific way that revelation produces, where you do not need to check your work, where you do not need to confirm it against other sources, where you simply know in the way that the body knows things before the mind has finished deliberating. You are going to know this weekend something you have been waiting to know for a very long time. I want to talk about the won't believe quality of this weekend, because that phrase is in the title and it deserves its own attention. Won't believe What does that actually mean in the context of what is coming? It means that the outcome of at least one thing that happens this weekend is going to exceed what your current capacity for belief about your own life has been able to hold. And I want to be specific about what I mean by that. You have a model. Everyone has a model. An internal picture of what is realistic for your life, what is achievable, what is available, what constitutes a realistic hope versus an unrealistic one. And that model is assembled from experience, from the accumulated evidence of what has and has not happened, from the pattern of what showed up and what did not, from the history of what proved possible and what proved beyond reach. That model has been protective. It has managed your expectations in ways that have kept you from the particular pain of hoping for things that were genuinely not available. It has been a reasonable response to a real history, but it has also been wrong about this weekend. Wrong in the specific sense that the model does not have the information needed to predict what this weekend contains, does not have access to what has been building outside its visibility, does not know what is converging, what is arriving, what is about to become real in your actual experience in ways that the model had categorized as belonging to a different category of life, someone else's category, not yours. This weekend is going to correct that categorization permanently by delivering something into your direct experience that updates the model, whether it is ready to be updated or not. And the won't believe quality is the moment of that updating. The moment where your experience exceeds your model and your model has to expand to accommodate what actually happened. That expansion is what will not believe actually means, and it is coming this weekend in a form that is going to make the expansion feel less like a shock and more like a recognition, like finally, like of course, like this is what was always supposed to happen. Let me tell you about a specific moment I feel in the energy of this weekend. A particular moment that is going to stand out among the others. That is going to have a quality distinct from the surrounding hours. A quality that you are going to recognize in real time as significant, not in retrospect, in the moment itself, while you are inside it, before you have had time to analyze it or confirm it against other evidence or talk yourself through whether it is as important as it feels. It is going to feel important before you have decided to let it feel important. And that spontaneous registration of significance, that involuntary knowing that something real is happening, is the thing I want you to watch for, because it is going to arrive in a moment that does not look significant from the outside. A conversation that starts as something small, an interaction that has the surface appearance of the ordinary, a setting that is unremarkable, a context that gives no external signal that this is the one. And inside that ordinary looking moment, something is going to shift. Something is going to be said or done or revealed or felt. That changes the quality of the air in the room. That changes the quality of your awareness. That makes everything that was background step further back and makes what is happening in that specific moment step forward with a clarity that does not require any interpretation. You are going to feel it in your chest before you understand it in your mind. You are going to feel it as a shift in your own body, a change in your breathing, a stillness that arrives in the middle of something that was moving, a sense of landing somewhere that you have been in transit toward for longer than you knew you were traveling. Watch for that moment. It is the center of the weekend. Everything else orbits it. And when it arrives, stay inside it rather than immediately moving through it into what comes next. Let it be what it is for as long as it wants to be. I want to address something that I feel in your energy as I describe all of this. A particular quality of response that I recognize because it is common in people who have been through enough that anticipating good things has become complicated. A kind of simultaneous hoping and bracing, where a part of you wants to believe what I am describing, and another part of you has already begun preparing for the version where it does not quite materialize, where the weekend passes and things were fine but not what was described, where the hoping meets the usual outcome and the protection that was built for exactly this kind of disappointment activates quietly in the background. I see that protection. I understand it completely, and I want to say something about it that I think matters. The protection was built for different circumstances, for the seasons that preceded this one, for the pattern of outcomes that produced the reasonable conclusion that managing expectations was wiser than extending them. That protection was appropriate then. This weekend is not then. This weekend is operating by a different set of conditions than the ones that taught you to protect yourself this way. And I am not asking you to abandon the protection entirely. I am asking you to let it step slightly back this weekend. Not far enough that you are exposed to something that could genuinely hurt you. Far enough that what is arriving has room to actually reach you. Far enough that the significant moment I described can find the version of you that is capable of being inside it fully. Not the defended version, not the already qualifying it version, the present version, the one that lets things land before deciding how to manage the landing. That is the version this weekend needs in order to deliver what it is carrying. Let me tell you about what happens after this weekend, because I think it is important to understand not just what the weekend itself contains, but what it sets in motion, what it makes possible in the weeks and months that follow. The things that happen this weekend are not self-contained. They are not developments that occur and then complete themselves without consequence for what comes next. They are openings. Each one of them, the contact that comes opens something between you and that person that was not open before. And what moves through that opening in the days that follow is going to build into something that this weekend alone cannot fully contain. The revelation that arrives opens a clarity about something that was unclear, and that clarity, once it exists, changes every decision you make from that point forward that is related to what the clarity is about. Every single one. Because decisions made from clear seeing are different in their quality and their outcome from decisions made while navigating uncertainty. The clarity is a permanent gift, one that keeps producing value long after the weekend that delivered it has passed. And the moment I described the specific significant moment at the center of the weekend opens something in you, something internal, something about what you believe is possible for your life and what you understand about your own worth and what you are now willing to claim as yours, that the moment before that moment did not contain. That moment is a threshold. And once you cross the threshold, you cannot uncross it. You can only move forward from the new position. And the new position you are going to be in on the other side of this weekend is one from which more is available, more is visible, more is reachable, more is simply and undeniably yours. In a way, it was not quite yours before Friday. I want to give you something practical before I close. Something you can actually do with what I have told you. Something that helps you be in this weekend in the way it deserves. The first thing is this: say yes more than you usually do to the invitation that feels slightly outside your comfort zone, to the plan that was not on your schedule, to the spontaneous development that offers itself without the advance notice your preference usually requires. The things I have described are going to arrive through the channels that open when you are available to the unscripted, when you are in motion rather than stationary, when you said yes to something that brought you into the right proximity at the right moment. Be in motion this weekend. Be available to what appears without requiring it to announce its significance before you engage with it. The significant things this weekend are going to present themselves as ordinary at first. And your willingness to engage with the ordinary is what is going to allow the extraordinary inside it to reveal itself. The second practical thing is this: pay attention to what you feel rather than only to what you think. This weekend is going to produce information in your body before it produces it in your analytical mind. The significant moment I described is going to register in your chest before your thoughts have processed what is happening. The contact from the person is going to produce a physical response before you have decided how to interpret the contact. The revelation is going to land in your body as a kind of settling, a release of something held before your mind has organized it into language. Do not require the language before you trust the settling. Do not override the body's knowing with the mind's need to analyze before accepting. This weekend, let the feeling lead and let the thinking catch up in its own time, because the feeling is going to be more accurate than the thinking this weekend, more directly connected to what is actually true, more precisely calibrated to what the moments contain. Trust it more than you usually do, more completely than is comfortable. This weekend, your instincts are the most reliable thing you have. Let them lead you into what is waiting. Let me close with the thing I most want you to carry into this weekend. The thing I want to be present in you on Friday morning when the weekend begins. On Saturday when the convergence starts to make itself felt. On Sunday when the full picture of what these days contained starts to become visible. I want you to carry this. You are allowed to be surprised by good things. You are allowed to let your own life exceed your expectations without immediately finding the reason it probably will not last. You are allowed to be inside a significant moment without half of your attention already positioned in the future, managing the aftermath. You are allowed to receive what this weekend is delivering at its full size, without the reduction, without the qualification, without the protective footnote that explains why this is probably not quite as good as it appears. It is as good as it appears, and then some. And you deserve to experience it at that level, not the managed version, not the carefully hedged, 1 foot back, let me not get too excited version. The full version with both feet in, with your whole self available. with the part of you that has been waiting for something like this, finally being given permission to receive it. This weekend is real. What is coming is real. The contact is real. The revelation is real. The significant moment at the center of it is real. And the version of you that walks out of Sunday evening is going to be different from the version that walks into Friday. Not dramatically different on the surface, foundationally different. In the way that matters most, in the internal knowing of someone who walked through a weekend that delivered what it promised. And who knows now? With the particular certainty that only direct experience produces, that their life is capable of this. Go into it open, stay inside it present, come out of it changed. And when someone asks you how your weekend was, you are going to find that the ordinary words are not quite enough for what actually happened